All right, Matt. Our third fight of the night, UFC Rio Rancho. This is a really fun one, and this is kind of one of those fights between two prospects where it could possibly be sink or swim. And listen, these two guys have each won their last two UFC fights. And I say that because Merab Dvalishvili dropped his first two, and then he fought Tyrion Ware and looked absolutely great. If you want to see a guy that got the raw end of the stick, look at Tyrion Ware. And then Merab Dvalishvili goes on and he fights Brad Katona, the Canadian-Irish assassin, and beats him. And looked really good in that fight. Now for Casey Kenney, this is a guy who at 125 was a champ in LFA. Then he was a champ at 135. Then he comes in and he fights Ray Borg in a fight where he was a more than 2-1 underdog in that one. Possibly undersized, maybe not, but both guys 125ers moving to 135. And he looked great in his debut. And then he takes on Manny Bermudez. And I had the chance to cover Manny Bermudez live and in color. NEF42 from Portland, Maine. You can find that FightNightPicks.net. But Matt, when Casey Kenney fought Manny Bermudez 135 pounds, I almost slipped my words there, they ended up fighting at a catch weight of 140 because Manny Bermudez, of course, missed weight, and Casey Kenney looked amazing. And Manny Bermudez is known as a great grappler. I mean, it's in his nickname as the Bermudez Triangle. And Casey Kenney absolutely held him down and controlled him and looked great in that fight. So this is one of those ones where maybe it's a bit of a clash of styles. We know Casey Kenney's a great wrestler. We know Merab Dvalishvili is great in the scrambles and has great grappling acumen to go along with a great striking arsenal. What do you make of this fight? It's a fun one.
It is a fun fight. I think Casey Kenney does more things well than Merab Dvalishvili does. The problem is Casey Kenney, at his heart and soul, he's kind of a wrestler. He's more grappling heavy than he is anything else. He's just a better striker than Merab is. And Merab is kind of just sort of the small version of Khabib. He doesn't have great striking. He's more wrestling and grappling heavy. And if you look at the Brad Katona fight, that whole entire fight, he just basically picked him up, took him down at complete will, and beat the brakes off him. It was one of the better performances. Well, not even one of it. It was by far the best performance of his career. If Casey Kenney can't stop that first takedown, I think it's going to be a long night for him. I don't see him outlasting Dvalishvili to win a decision. I feel like Dvalishvili really only needs one takedown a round because Casey Kenney, for as good as he is, and he is good at getting back up to his feet, I just don't think he has the physical strength that Dvalishvili has on the ground. So I feel like Merab's going to win a unanimous decision. He might even get 1 10-8 round in there just because I feel like the top game of Dvalishvili is so suffocating that Casey Kenney's not going to have an answer for it. I do think it's going to be a really good fight. It's going to kind of remind you of like when Tim Elliott fought Louis Smolka, and that was fight of the night, and it was just a lot of scrambles. I think it could be a really fun one, but I'm definitely going with Merab by decision.
I'm going to go with Merab Dvalishvili as well, and I'll lay the stats out there as they are. Dvalishvili a minus 170 favorite. You got Casey Kenney at a plus 140 and at a 573 votes on Tapology. 69% going with Casey Kenney. 88% of those voters saying that he's going to win by decision. I'm going to take Merab Dvalishvili, but I want to say this. He is a wonky striker, and if he can land just a couple of good shots and mix in some feints, he's going to be able to possibly get a takedown, like you said, and just continue to pressure. But I'm really looking forward to this fight. And like you said, a good comparison between the Elliott-Smolka fight. I think this one could end up as a bonus for one of these two guys. But really looking forward to it. You're not going to want to miss the rest of our 2-minute and 5-minute main card predictions or main event predictions for UFC Rio Rancho here on YouTube. Friday Night Picks, Matt. Let's get into it.